coach for a male was was a challenge for me because, stereotypically men know what to do in the gym, I guess, more than women. Men know how to lift better than women. And for me to have to tell a male how to do something as it pertains to fitness and working out, it was kind of like a weird challenge for them to earn my respect and realize like, oh, she actually does know what she's talking about. Like, this is actually, I should probably listen to her. And on top of the fact that I do have two male partners, sometimes their word would be more valuable than mine sometimes. So having to earn the respect that, okay, what she says actually is credible and valuable and something that I can rely upon was hard. It was definitely hard. Harder than for the boys, for sure.
Welcome to the Warriors at Work show. This is Jeannie Coomber, your guide and host. This is a show for men and women in the workplace who want to move from the predictable to the potent. This is your weekly dose of inspiration with an edge. I talk with CEOs and shamans, sports marketing executives and therapists. All of us are like-minded thinkers and doers who tell stories, share wisdom, and challenge each other to have the best life possible inside and outside the office. Welcome to your Warrior Conversation.
Hey everybody, it's Jeannie. Thank you so much for joining me here at Warriors at Work. So, anybody out there want to become an entrepreneur? You want to do your own thing? You want to break out of whatever your business corporate world is and do something totally different? Well, I am thrilled to bring to you a conversation with two women who started something and are both just crushing it in life, personally and professionally. And they're both from Monmouth County. They're both right around the same age. They have two completely different paths, but their story is so inspirational, and they break it down around what are the characteristics you've got to have? Like, what are those attributes to be a successful entrepreneur? How do you navigate being a business owner through extraordinary circumstances like we just saw in COVID? And so this conversation is so inspiring. It's funny, it's exciting, it's chock full of ideas and practical things that whether you're thinking about being an entrepreneur or you want to step it up or you're looking to scale in some sort of way, these two women are really going to serve up to you some powerful thoughts. I'm thrilled to bring to you a conversation with the co-owner of Fitness by the Sea, Ashley Golin, and co-founder of Playa Bowls, Abby Taylor. Enjoy. Ashley and Abby, thank you so much for joining me in this conversation about entrepreneurialism. I cannot wait to get into this. So thank you so much.
Thanks for
All
having
right.
us.
This is where I want to start. So, the world knows you both in a lot of different domains, and they could Google both of you and research a little bit more about you. So what I want to do is share a little bit about what's known and then give you an opportunity about talking about some things that maybe aren't known. So Ashley, I'm going to start with you first. You have many, many hats here. You really have a fascinating story about how you really turned your athleticism into really a thriving business. But let's start with some of these outside labels. Okay, so you're local to Monmouth County. You're a mom of two children, Jet and Cameron. You're the wife to Grant. You're a former Division I soccer player. You're a ranked CrossFit athlete who really channeled this love of fitness into a business called Fitness by the Sea, which is about 7,000 square foot gym in Avon, New Jersey. You co-own it with Grant, your husband, which we're going to get into in just a minute, and a high school friend named Jay. So tell us who Ashley is in her own words.
So I would say, yes, definitely an athlete at heart. I am an accountant that turned into a fitness enthusiast, but more recently, and definitely most importantly, a mom of, like you said, my 3-year-old son, Jet, and my 9-month-old daughter, Cameron. When I'm not either being a mom or working out or at the gym, I'm probably doing something related to true crime, which Abby can relate to. I feel like I missed my calling as like a detective, maybe in my next life. But yeah, I mean, I definitely have a passion for motivating and anything in that fitness world. And then obviously I just love being a mom. I really do. You know, I pride myself on having my 2 little kids. So that's how I would describe myself.
I love that. True crime. I'm going to have to ask you for a good recommendation. All right. So, Abby, you also wear a lot of hats. You've got a powerful story about really why you became an entrepreneur. Some of your outside labels and descriptions that people know about you is you're also local to Monmouth County, your wife to Bobby. You're a mom to Jet and Pina, who I think we saw in the background, which I'm so excited that they're here with us. You're an avid surfer. You're creative to your core. You're a natural learner who's been recognized by Forbes on their distinguished 30 under 30 list. You're the co-founder of and chief marketing officer of Playa Bowls, and you co-founded Playa Bowls after you traveled across South America and you fell in love with this incredible ingredient, acai, which none of us would have known what the heck that was, I don't think, if it weren't for you and Playa Bowls. So tell us who Abby is in your own words.
Wow, that was a lot.
It's always weird, right? To hear somebody else talk about you. I know, it's so weird.
It is. It's a lot. I mean, you hit upon a lot of it. I'm definitely, even as Playa Bowls grows, I still feel like the same person. I'm a beach kid. I'm a surfer. Like you said, I'm creative. I'm always taking on like art projects, and I enjoy that and doing creative things at Playa Bowls, but definitely just like a creative, normal person who, had a vision for something and believed in something and was really passionate about it and made it happen. But I say this a lot, but I think that if I could do it, like anybody could do it, because I learned as I go along. I continue to learn every single day, but yeah.
I love it. And what the interesting thing about both of you and your journey, you both consciously made a choice to become entrepreneurs. There's a lot of different ways you could have gone. I mean, and Ashley, you were talking about, you're a CPA, you were an accountant. You really could have gone down a completely different path, but you both consciously made a choice to do this. How did you know it was the right path? And Abby, I'm going to start with you.
I think growing up, I remember like even in high school saying to people, I'm definitely not going to have like a normal 9 to 5. I can't do like that normal schedule. And I didn't know what it was going to be. But even at a super young age, I always was like hustling. Like I'm making bracelets and I'm selling them. And I'm like, oh, you want me to paint these shoes? You want me to do that? Like I just was, always had these little side hustles off of my creativity. And I knew I wasn't going to have a normal 9 to 5 type thing. And I really in my head never even pictured like working for somebody. Not that I knew what I wanted to do, but I think those are things that even at a young age stand out to me, knowing that that's what I was going to do. And I don't even think I knew the word like entrepreneur. It's used so loosely now. It's thrown around so much, but I think it's just something that's innately in you. And like, even seeing Ashley starting out doing what she was doing and then switching gears, it's like, sometimes you just have to figure out what works for you.
You use the word hustle. Like, where did that come from? Is that something that you were taught as a young age? Is that like your family dynamic? Where did that come from?
It's definitely a family dynamic. My dad is a plumber, and he started a plumbing business with my grandfather when I was super, super young, and definitely saw him like grinding and, just working constantly. My mom as well. She was in retail, working really long hours. And so they definitely put that into me, the hard work thing, and nothing is given to you, which I think is super important to be successful. But I think they instilled that to me in a young age without me even really realizing that it was happening.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the grit and the hard work that it takes. And I think a lot of people you get attracted to, I want to own my own thing, but there's a lot more to it.
Or like I always tell people too, like owning your own business sounds really great, but like at the end of the day, when you clock out of your 9 to 5 and you go home and the day is over, like it doesn't stop. Like it's like the minute you open your eyes, the minute you go to bed, like you're not in an office and you're not, in a meeting the whole time, but it's nonstop. It's all on you.
I was just having this conversation yesterday with somebody who's thinking about getting into the world of executive coaching. So I'm just about to start my 18th year. And I said, every year I got to start over. What is my client base going to look like? What companies do I have to get in front of? And I can't just necessarily rely on year to year. And it is amazing. I never realized that that's what I do until I said it out loud. And this is somebody that, he's got a 30-year corporate career and he's looking to do this. And I was like, this is going to take every year and every month and every moment. Like, you're never stopping. You're constantly like in a forward cycle, always thinking ahead. So Ashley, why did you choose this path?
So I would say my decision wasn't as clear cut as Abby's. So I started in the corporate world. My dad was a lawyer. My brother was a lawyer. My dad turned into a judge. So we had like a different route. And I always had the vision of opening up my own gym and running my own business. Making that leap into having a steady source of income from being an accountant into potentially making no dollars at all definitely was out of my comfort zone. I'm definitely like a calculated person. Like, even when it comes to like following a recipe, like I can't eyeball things. I need to have a plan, and that's what I do. So this was definitely a huge risk for me. But using my, sports and athletic career as kind of my drive, in the sense that I was a captain, I led countless teams, so I knew I had that in me. And I think that my vision to have this gym was what motivated me to keep going. And then, which you'll find out later, like my husband or boyfriend at the time, Grant, definitely was the one that was like, listen, we can do this. Like, we have the ability. We are creative people. We're hardworking people. So that mine wasn't as clear cut in the beginning. Like, I definitely took that corporate route. But that vision is what helped me to continue to push to actually do it.
Do either of you have any kind of daily practices or rituals that you pull into your repertoire that just keeps you focused? Like, is it a word? Is it a phrase? Is it something that you do to just, that's going to be the energy and the direction that you're going to follow that day? I was just kind of curious. I've never asked either of you that question.
I'll start. Mine may have changed, but now waking up and seeing the kids, I think it's a motivating factor for the family. So for me, like seeing them, like I want them to have the best lives ever. And if that means me, crushing my business, like that's what it's going to be. So they're definitely, just seeing them every morning is my, mantra in a sense.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think just with now how big like Playa Bowls has gotten, I feel like I need to like show everybody, like if one thing goes wrong in the morning, like I don't let my whole day spiral. It's like, okay, I'm already on to the next thing. Like, how can we make it better? And I think just not like dwelling on all the bad things. Sometimes it feels like a whole day is filled with calls of all negative things. And I'm like, okay, let's talk about something positive that happened, and being able to just like to shift and not let that ruin your whole day. It's just kind of like what I do every day.
Oh, I love that. Like energetically switching channels.
Yeah, like, all right, this happened, but what are we going to do next? Let's go move on to the next thing.
I've been joking with Ross. I was like, yeah, once you get a little older, I'm like, I woke up today. It's all good. We're here. What are we going to do with it? How are we going to, have a good day? What's it going to look like at the end of the day? And I'm trying to like think that through, which it leads me to my next question, right? So you both have been in business since 2014, right? And I'm sure you're going to agree with me that the last 3 years has been probably the craziest business cycle in the history of business. And as business owners, I'd love for you to share what that was like for you both as business owners. And, what did you learn as a result of going through that cycle?
So I'll start. So this was like a wildly special time for me because 3 days before the state shut down, I had Jet. So I had a baby. I had one business, the gym, that was closed. We also had a restaurant at the time, which was closed. And we had a event associated with the gym that was also closed. So we had 3 of our income generating businesses shut down, and we just had a baby. And our parents weren't able to be with us because we thought that that's how the child would get sick. So it was the most wild time for us. I think that Grant, my husband, and I learned a lot about each other as life partners in addition to business partners at the time. But I feel like for us, in terms of the business, we really felt that fight or flight. So we saw so many businesses shut down, and that was very motivating for us to have to keep our doors open. So in a time, and even these last 2-3 years, depression, anxiety, everyone's mental health was at risk, and people's outlet is the gym, right? So if we didn't keep our doors open, we were doing a disservice to our members. So that was motivating for us to try to stay open. And that meant doing online workouts, moving from parking lot to parking lot, creating or building a tent in our parking lot when it was snowing out so people could work out outside. We had heaters blowing in the tent to make it like 2 degrees warmer than it was outside. So we really had to show our creativity to keep everyone happy and keep people in our doors. And I think it's a testament to our members as well, because they hung with us. When we moved to one parking lot to the next parking lot, they were right there with us. If our members weren't as supportive as they were, our doors would be closed. So it was wild. It was a wild time for us. But I think it built the community up, and it really just showed who we were as a community.
Yeah, your level of creativity, it was like the ingenuity was amazing. And I remember thinking, it's 35 degrees and I'm outside throwing weights around.
Yeah.
I never thought I'd do that, but you were just doing it. So I love that. How about you, for Abby? How about you, Abby?
Because like we got to witness Ashley like go through that time, because we do go to the gym, and they just did such an incredible job and just like went with all the punches, and like you said, like that's what you look forward to every day. I look forward to my hour at the gym, and they did such a good job with that.
I agree.
Thanks.
Yeah. Obviously when this first happened, everyone's like, what's going to happen? Like nobody knew. It was so like the unknown was crazy. But then like we just, like I said before, like we just settled for a second and we're like, all right, let's just come up with a plan. And sometimes I feel guilty saying it, but our sales during COVID were actually higher than the previous year in the winter when it happened, because we went on like more online ordering platforms that we weren't on before, because people were ordering food. So we had a lot of people that were exposed to the brand that weren't exposed to it before, right? So I looked at it as a positive thing. We made it like super efficient for people to order and come in quickly without like contacting anybody. There was racks put by the door to just grab your bag. So we didn't just roll over and say, this is really tough, this is really scary, like what's going to happen? We just said, this is what we're going to do. Put a plan in place. And it was rocky. You know, one person would get sick, it would knock out like an entire store of staff, and we're pulling from other stores. So just being able to roll with the punches. But we were out there on the front lines. We brought a lot of product to hospitals and first responders, and, you know, just kind of showing our support for everyone going through a hard time together. And that also was really great for us. And we didn't even do it just to be like, you know, for like a PR stunt. It just was something that everyone naturally did at all the stores. It was incredible. Everyone really came together as a team.
Yeah, like the sense of community, you both really had a strong connection to that idea and being in service to the community that you serve. And clearly it's paid dividends in terms of like how well your businesses are doing now, and just staying front and center to that. So thank you for sharing that perspective. I was also really curious, you know, so much of what I think really makes, or what is a key differential, I think, of being a successful business owner and really being in business full stop, is being able to ask for help and advice, and knowing like, I can't do this by myself. I'm not really sure, and not just running stuff past yourself. So I'm curious, when you think about advice, like who are those people in your circles right now that are offering you the greatest advice, or that have the most influence?
We've taken on some hires in the last 2 years that are just like incredible people with tons of experience in the industry. And I just surround myself with really smart people in every single field at Playa Bowls. And I call them, and I have no shame. Like I've said it from day one, I'm in a big meeting, I don't care if I'm in a board meeting in the city and everyone's in their suits and I'm like, hold on one second, what? Like, I don't understand what just happened.
I love that.
Like, you have to, and who cares? There's no shame on surrounding yourself with people who are way smarter than you and using them as like touch points. It's awesome. I'm so lucky to have it. So I just call everybody up. I'm not scared to sound stupid or not know something. Like, I just use my system and I keep bringing in people with the experience, and it's helped me become so much smarter and stronger, like in business.
I love that. A lot of times I'm interviewed, for coaching assignments in various companies, and they'll use a lot of like buzzwords and acronyms. And sometimes
acronyms, always.
Yeah. And I'll throw some sense of humor in there. I'm like, enough with the buzzword bingo. Like, what's the question? What is it you're looking for? I don't know what those vernaculars stand for.
Usually like half the room doesn't know either. And I'm like, you all don't know what they're saying either,
I love it. If you got to get a thesaurus out.
I love that you are true to yourself, because who I see here and who I see at the gym, to know that that's who I see at like one of your business meetings, it's so true. Like and I think that's partially why you are so successful, is because you're so transparent, and it's such a great quality. I truly enjoy that about you. Yeah.
So who are your people? What does your circle look like?
So mine is a little bit closer to home. So my parents are someone who I have gone to for support, advice, whether it has, like when I was in college playing sports, and even to this day, if I have any just like fears or, if I'm just questioning something, my dad is the voice of reason and my mom is my biggest fan. So going to them and having them is something that I am so grateful for. They talk me off of ledges, and they just, whatever I need to hear for the day, I feel like they just know what to say. And then I would have to say Grant, he is probably, if not the most influential person in my life. He is, you want to talk hustle, similar to Abby, like this, he knows hustle. He is one of the hardest working people I know. And he inspires me to work harder, whether it's to be a better mom or to just be better at the gym or just be better in life. That is one thing that he has taught me over the last 10 years, that just work hard at anything that you are passionate about, and benefits and rewards will come. So he's a big one for sure.
We're going to save that snippet and send it to him for Valentine's Day. So you're all set.
Yes. I mean it though. He really, truly is like
very sweet.
The hardest working, like just, and living with him too. You want to say the 9 to 5, like he is thinking at all hours. Like, I'm not kidding. He'll wake up in the middle of the night. He has a notepad next to his bed. And if he has an idea, he writes it down. I'm like, just go back to sleep. Like, but he's just constantly thinking about how we can do things better, or what's the next idea, or whatever it is. He's thinking about it.
I'd also love to hear you both talk about some of the naysayers. I like to think of them more as like, okay, so these are people that don't necessarily believe in what I believe, or maybe they don't even believe in me, but they make me smarter. They make me better. They keep me very conscious to like having a learner's mindset. When I say naysayers, like what immediately comes to mind? Maybe it's a story and experience. Maybe it's advice you got early on. What comes to mind when I say, who are the naysayers?
So ironically enough, go ahead. You want me to go?
No. I don't really know yet.
So ironically enough, my dad is my biggest fan, my biggest supporter. But when I first started the business, he had a more traditional approach. He wanted me to stay in the accounting field because he knew I could grow there. And not that he didn't believe in me, but he just advised that I don't throw accounting out the window. So when I started the business, the question was always, well, you're going to still do accounting, right? You're still going to do accounting, right? And then once he really started to see how well the gym was doing and how happy I was, he then switched and was like, okay, that traditional approach may be for some people, but right now, like, this is the happiest I've ever seen my daughter, and she's doing what she loves. So, and it was really tough because I took his words to heart when he was saying, maybe we don't do this just yet. Maybe you wait a couple years, maybe you get a couple more years of accounting under your belt. Do you really think that you can have a life from this business? And having they're great questions, but it made me hesitant to be like, oh, maybe he knows something I don't know, or maybe he's right, and maybe I shouldn't be leaving. I was doing well at this accounting firm, and I was, climbing the ranks, and I was like, oh, maybe I shouldn't be doing this. But that vision that we spoke about before was something that I couldn't quell. It was something that I needed to do and figure out. And I knew that accounting will always be there, and even to this day, 9 years later, if I reached out to that firm that I was with, maybe I wouldn't start at the same position, but I could probably climb the same ladder that I did before. So he definitely made me hesitate from time to time with his questions, but his support never wavered. I would say that's really the only time that, I had some pushback in terms of going for it. Other than that, everyone has been super supportive. And I'll
that, Ashley, because I was going to say the same thing, that my parents are so supportive and amazing. They're my best friends. They're excellent. But what I was going to say is too, that I remember the first like big lease that I signed was in Pier Village in Long Branch. It was like our first like serious lease that we were signing for like multiple years. And I called my dad, and he's like, he's also not a risk taker, right? But like he has his own business and he gets it, but he was doing like nothing out of the box. Like he's like, he has a plan and he kind of follows his thing. And I'm like, I'm signing this lease for 5 years with Kushner in Pier Village for a Playa Bowls location. He's like, Abby, like, that's really serious. Are you kidding me? Like, I don't know. And I'm like, it's gonna be fine. Like, it's gonna work. He's like, if this doesn't work, like that's like your name is on like this big lease. And I'm like, yeah, but like, we got to do it. I got to do it. Like, it's going to put us on the map. Like, it's an iconic spot, but same thing. And it wasn't necessarily like, you can't do this, or are you crazy? It was like, are you sure? Just like it sounds like what your dad too, like not like shutting it down, but making you second guess it a little bit. Definitely like that little voice in your ear, like, are you sure?
Yeah. Wow, I love that. When I decided to leave corporate and start my own thing, I started to do this coaching thing. Before it was a sexy thing. It was not known in the US. It was only known outside the US. And I had a really thriving corporate career. And I remember telling my mom, like, Mom, I'm going to do this coaching thing. My mom was a psychotherapist. She's like, no, what are you talking about? Go back, get your master's degree. You go into practice. Like, man, like, I don't want to talk to people that are looking over their shoulder around where they've come from. I want forward thinkers, and this coaching thing is for me. And I decided I was going to quit, leave my job. Everybody thought I was nuts. What are you doing? That's crazy. We're about to move your job to Midtown. I'm like, great. So I'm going to have a 2.5 hour commute one way. No, thank you. I have a new baby, not doing it. And it was like using that fuel to say, no, just watch. I know my capabilities. I know it's scary. Ross also had just become a chiropractor in this country. We had no money paying Paul to pay Peter. And you just put your head down and like, I know what I'm capable of. I know what I'm capable of. And just keeping that energy going. But then using those people in your life is like a little bit of a reality check, like a little bit of a guardrail, like,
100%.
Is this okay? Like, what do you think? So I love that you just shared that. That's so powerful. I'm also kind of curious. So you've had these thriving businesses over the last 9 years. I'd love for you to go back to the first 6 months and compare it to the last 6 months. So just take your mind there. First 6 months, comparing it to the last 6 months. What comes to mind?
So our first 6 months was a grind. We, all three of us, so myself, Grant and Jay, we all still had our other jobs. So we opened our business of April of 2014. I was still accounting. Tax day is April 15th. So For 2 weeks, I was in the final 2 weeks of tax season and opening up a brand new business. So our days looked like our, figuring out, taking off of work, alternating, taking off of our other jobs so that we can be there in the morning, but basically working a 9 to 5 job and then also working 5 to 8 at night and then going to sleep and doing it all over again. And on the weekends. So the first 6 months was a straight up grind. I don't even remember it because I probably blacked out for 6 months because it was just constant, nonstop, no sleep, stress, anxiety. I actually will never forget. So it was a 5 o'clock class for us, 5 p.m., and no one showed up. And we were freaking out. So we printed flyers and we walked around Avon putting flyers on people's cars for marketing. And it was like a week trial. Come on in. We're new to the area. So it was, we didn't sleep. It was hard. It was long hours. And then fast forward, the last 6 months, I can't say it's still not a grind. So we're still putting in the hours, we're still putting in the work, but we've built an amazing team of coaches that we can now not be at the gym and feel comfortable that the business is still running smoothly. We can take a vacation and know that the place isn't going to burn down. So having that support and confidence in the people that we have brought on definitely makes things easier. However, we have a goal of acquiring a member a week, and that has not wavered in the last 9 years. Sometimes we hit it, sometimes we don't. But that is a goal of ours, and that has been a goal of ours since the first day we opened the door. So there are still a lot of similarities from those first 6 months, but I would say the stress is down. And just knowing that, you do have other people that can work for you and you feel comfortable with them being there is definitely a nice feeling for sure.
How about you, Abby?
Oh my God. I love to hear Ashley's story too, because I was a part of it as well. Like I was at the gym and she worked at Playa for a little bit, actually, like
yes,
in the beginning.
Yes.
So we both kind of like saw those moments and we didn't know we were like in those moments, but it was cool. It's a very similar timeline.
I'm going to cut in real quick because I say this story every time Abby talks about the starting of her business. So we were at the gym, and actually where the new chiropractor is now, that was our front desk. And I remember standing inside, Abby was standing on the outside, and she was like, I think we're going to open up this stand this weekend just outside of I guess it was like the pizza shop, or that's where you were living at the time. Yeah. She's like, hey, we're gonna like give it a whirl and see what happens.
Oh my God.
9 years. Like
but that was like I was bartending at DJ's till like I would get home at like 4 and nobody was caring. Like the bar closed at 2 and no one was in a rush to like clean up or like get out of there. And I'm like, I have to make smoothies in like 3 minutes. Like, and so I would clean like the whole bar. I count all the money. Like I was just like, come on. Cause I knew I could only sleep for like 3 hours. And then I would get up and like make smoothies all morning. And like, I don't even know what happened. And it wasn't even 6 months. It was like years. And people, I missed my niece's first birthday party. They still bring it up. My family still brings it up. My friends just like slowly stopped texting. It was like, I just didn't, that was it. And like, I didn't even realize it at that time. I just was go, go, go. And every day I'd wake up, like, how can I get to every location? Like, I want to see every bowl that goes out. And once you're able to like find good people and give up a little bit of that control, like that really takes over you. And you have to find a good team. Like I would stress out so badly about what all the bowls are looking like going out, but I knew I just couldn't be everywhere all at once. And that's what was really like adding a lot of stress to my life. And I remember one time I was driving and I stopped at one of the stores and I'm like, I had my head like on my on my steering wheel, and I just was like crying on my steering wheel, just like having a moment. And one of my little employees came over and like knocked on the window. She's like, "Are you okay?" I was like, "Oh, fine. It's just a lot. It's a lot." I think you have like a lot of those moments. But when you're in it, like you don't realize it. Looking back, I'm like, how did I even do that? And now it's more meetings and like making high level decisions that trickle down to like hundreds of people and like franchisees who are like relying on us for, supporting their entire families, and employees that have families and kids. And like, it's just making these decisions that are a little bit scary that trickle down and affect so many people. And that's what's so different from the beginning, where I was actually behind the counter and like making things and running around. It's like, there's a lot less of that. There's really not much of that, which I miss. But now it's making big decisions that trickle down and affect so many people.
Yeah, well, let's talk about the team aspect, because you both consciously chose to go into business with men, which is kind of cool. And I'm curious why you chose these partners. Like, why not just do it on your own, or why not go out, pitch it, fundraise, get investors? Like, you consciously made a choice to set it up where you were going to go into business with these people. So why these partners?
So for me, Grant was my boyfriend at the time, and Jay was someone that we knew. So Grant, Jay, and I have known each other for over 20 years, and we all were interested in the same thing. And I think that I knew we needed more than one person, because the hours are long. We have, over 6 or 7, 10 classes a day. So I couldn't do it by myself. And the woman we actually took over her business, she was doing it by herself. And I think that is why she wasn't as successful as we were, because there are just so many things to do. And if you intend on being open the hours that we're open, you need help. On top of that, Jay came from a customer service background. His dad had owned a catering hall, so he was used to dealing with people and negotiating and just having that personal service aspect. Grant is the creative mind, so he has all the ideas that one can think of. And I had the accounting finance background. So the three of us together, we put up a solid team there. We had a little bit of everything that needs to run a business. And on top of the fact that like our families are rooted within each other. So like we all know each other's parents, and it was more of like a family when we started, rather than, this stranger that, I know that he's good with people. So we knew each other from, I would say, like a more rooted background. And I think that was really, it's benefited us in the long run, because the decisions that we're making, I know I'm making decisions that are going to affect Jay's family, and I know his family personally, and vice versa. So I think that, we just had a little bit of everything that we needed to run a business, and it worked out well for us.
How about you, Abby? You chose to go into business with Rob. Why not go at it on your own?
So Rob and I were dating at the time, and I remember he was selling medical devices and doing really well. And I was kind of just traveling in the winters and then bartending all summer and living that kind of life for a while. And it was like, this is fun, but like, what's next, And I knew that I was obsessed with acai, and I kept being like, I really want to like do something with this, whatever. And then he was sort of that push, right? Like, well, why can't you do it? Like, why don't you just do it then? And, this is where we could start, and kind of like the back end business mind of it that maybe I didn't have at the time, like I knew creatively like what I wanted it to look like. And I'm already writing the menu boards, and I have ideas for names of bowls and combinations and things, but pulling it all together, he definitely pushed me. And what's good about our partnership is we both have like those two ends kind of filled. So, we complement each other, where I probably would have been okay with the store in Belmar, right? But he was just pushing, like, there's more demand for this. A lot of people love it. Like, we could do more. And I kept pushing myself out of my comfort zone to open up more and more stores. But he definitely led that and pushed me along.
I love it. Well, let's talk a little bit about the chemistry here, because I'm so fascinated around, how do you align on decisions? How do you resolve disputes? Like, you had to come up with some sort of like, here's the rules of engagement. Here's how we're going to do this. Say more about that. fascinated.
You say that like it's very easy, but
It's the hardest part about it.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, that relationship didn't work out. So there was just like a really rough point, to be candid with you guys. And I think that that's normal in a lot of business relationships and anyone who I talk to. And it's tough. And I think it's really hard. And if you're starting a business, it's definitely something to really think about, is who you're going into business with. It's hard. There's not a playbook. It's like, you got to just work through all these things and, put your head down. And like, sometimes you have to, I don't know, you have to pivot and kind of move with the person. And sometimes you have to make decisions that you don't totally love, to kind of give and take, right? Of what makes the most sense with the business. So it's tough. It's really tough. Probably one of the most challenging parts, but definitely we're better now. And it's, once you have more people in place and things like a board and people that, things have to go through a lot of different people to make one decision. It does make it a little bit easier in a sense.
Is the unifying thing the fact that you're both focused on the same mission and the same vision?
Exactly. At the end of the day, we both want, the best things for Playa Bowls. And sometimes if we are going back and forth, it's like, okay, well, what's best for Playa Bowls,
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
Ashley, what about you?
So mine is actually kind of funny because, maybe as an outsider, since Grant and I are married, you would think that like it would be, like Grant and I saying this and then Jay may be saying something else, but 9 times out of 10, it's me and Jay saying something and Grant saying something else.
I love that.
I love hearing this too. It's so cool.
So, I think that's actually one of the better parts of having 3 people, is that you have 3 opinions, 3 points of view, where, maybe in one instance, I feel like, maybe my opinion isn't the one that we decide, but then in the next decision that we make, Grant and I are on the same page. And then in the next decision, maybe Jay and I are on the same page. So it's nice so that it doesn't feel so one-sided, like, oh, I guess we're just going to go with your decision again because you feel like you know best. So the decisions are always vetted. The decisions are always thought out between the 3 of us. And same thing that Abby said, whatever's best for the business at the end of the day, what are we trying to do here? We're trying to make the best decision for the business, whether that's what Jay and I said, whether it's just what I said, whether it's what Grant and Jay said, we're going to make the best decision for the gym. But I just think it's funny because I feel like Jay didn't realize he was signing up to be a marriage counselor sometimes. So,
I can imagine.
Or he didn't realize that he was part of this relationship that we have going on here. And, I don't know if he loves it or hates it, but I think it's just a funny dynamic for sure.
Do you think that there's a difference between being a female entrepreneur versus a male entrepreneur?
I definitely think yes. I feel like, especially in the industry that I am in, I think I have to earn the respect for people. I have people, we've owned the business for 9 years and there are still people that come in, maybe they're new. And when I say that I'm one of the owners, they're surprised. It's like, oh, you own a gym, like a female owns a gym? That's kind of weird. Or even, being an instructor or a coach for a male was a challenge for me because, stereotypically men know what to do in the gym, I guess, more than women. Men know how to lift better than women. And for me to have to tell a male how to do something as it pertains to fitness and working out, it was kind of like a weird challenge for them to earn my respect and realize like, oh, she actually does know what she's talking about. Like, this is actually, I should probably listen to her. And on top of the fact that I do have 2 male partners, sometimes their word would be more valuable than mine sometimes. So having to earn the respect that, okay, what she says actually is credible and valuable and something that I can rely upon was hard. It was definitely hard. Harder than for the boys, for sure.
100%. I agree with everything that you said. Like, I feel like a lot of times, in the beginning, I just was sort of like, oh, you guys can make the decisions, like whatever. But then I'm like, no, why am I doing that? And now like I go into board meetings and it's I would say 90%, it's maybe me and one other female in this room with all these suited up guys. And I'm like, when it's my turn, like, all right, guys, it's my turn. Like, let's go. You know? And I do think I bring something into that room a little bit, you know, like a little bit of positivity, a little bit of a different energy. But I also sometimes, I think that they think I'm just going to like roll over and say, okay, like whatever. And I combat them a little bit and they're kind of like, oh, like I see it in their faces where like, I don't think guys have that where they're like surprised if a guy speaks up, but I think they are surprised if I do. And as I get more comfortable as a woman in business and, you know, going to board meetings and things like that, it makes me laugh sometimes because I could tell they're like caught off guard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I love that. I love that story. Yeah. So when you think about being an entrepreneur, like how do you strike a balance between, you know, having a successful mindset and being happy? What's the advice that you would offer anybody here that's watching or listening that's either contemplating this world of owning their own business, or maybe they're already in it and they're struggling? What would you advise them?
So I would say that you have to be passionate about what you're doing. And it takes some hard work. It still takes hard work. 9 years in, it's still hard work. Because for me, my mindset is, you know, being driven by dollars can take you so far. But at the end of the day, what's going to separate you from the next business owner is your passion and your hard work. Without that, you know, like I said, you can only go so far. But when you have those tough times, when you have to make those tough decisions, or you're having those days that feel like they last for 3 or 4 days, what keeps you motivated, what keeps you going is that you're so passionate about what you're doing. You know, I say this all the time when I was in accounting, you know, this is true facts. I wake up at 3:30 in the morning some mornings to go to work. And if you told me that I had to do that when I was in an accountant, I would have said, absolutely not. You can't pay me anything to do that. But I willingly wake up at 3:30 in the morning to do something I love. And I think that's really the differentiating factor between the two.
How about you, Abby?
Yeah, I think it's like what we said in the beginning. It's like, I never like saw this fail. Like in my head, it was like, I'm going to do this, but I was like, and if it fails, I'll do this. I just like never even thought that way, which is crazy looking back. And I truly, that's honestly like what it was. I didn't see failure and I still don't, which I think, I don't know, maybe sets you up to be more successful. But like Ashley said, it's not even about the money. It's about like waking up and being like excited about what you're doing. And why I think Playa Bowls is so great is because of our branding, and it's like genuine. You know, if you go into some sort of, you know, other acai shop, right? And you're like, they're just like pretending so hard to be something that they're not. But I think at Playa Bowls, this is who we are. It's like, I live it. This is my voice. Like you're in my head. And it's the passion and just believing in it so much and just never seeing it fail in your head. It's like, how could you fail if you're not even thinking that way?
That's very cool. All right, we're going to switch gears. Now we're going to end it with a speed round.
Okay.
And then one more question. All right, speed round. Ashley,
Yes.
coffee or tea?
Coffee.
And it has to be flavored, right?
Yes.
I remember you telling me that. Abby, Netflix, Hulu, or Amazon Prime?
Netflix.
Ashley, iTunes or Spotify?
Spotify.
Abby, favorite food?
Pizza.
I thought you were going to say acai. Okay. All right, Ashley, quality you love in another person?
Kindness.
Actually, Abby, I'm going to ask that same question for you.
That kindness was so good.
You can take it too.
You can say
like
ditto.
Niceness. Like I just like nice people.
Yeah.
Okay. Final question. You both can answer this. Something you want to improve within yourself?
I would say for me, being more spontaneous.
Okay.
I'm too calculated. I'm very risky.
No, I'm too risky, Ash. You can
Well, I was going to say, be like Abby.
You're like the perfect combination. You
I'm like, I have no rules. I'm too risky.
Yes, exactly. That's what I need in my life.
I think maybe just like living in the moment more, you know, you just get caught up on your phone and so many things are going through my mind. And sometimes I'm like, I should just put my phone down and like live in this moment and like really listen to people.
That's a perfect segue for the last thing that I'm going to ask you both. All right, it's your 90th birthday. Everyone you love in your personal life and professional life are all around you, and they're talking about you. What are they saying?
I think that I definitely lived a really full life. Like, I'm 33 and I feel like I've already done a lot more than a lot of people have in terms of even just traveling and just things that I've seen and gotten able to do. So I think that I definitely lived like a full life by that point, and that hopefully I can inspire some people to start a business that they believe in.
Ashley, final word.
I would say, I mean, I have to include my kids. So I hope that I was a great mom. Memories of me being like the best mom, and just being true to myself. Doing what I love, something that I truly, truly love. And I never wavered from that.
Well, what a beautiful way to end our conversation. Thank you both for sharing your heart and your stories and being such a gift to the world for all that you're putting out there. So I thank you so, so much for your time.
Yeah, this is awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining me for another episode of the Warriors at Work show. If you are interested in learning more about what we do at the Warriors at Work show and platform, be sure to go over to my website, Jeannie Coomber, and subscribe to my monthly Warrior Playbook newsletter. I share everything that I'm up to month by month, as well as some lessons and insights that I've learned. I'm also interested in hearing any feedback you have about this conversation or future topics. So reach out to me directly on jc@jeanniecoomber.com or on LinkedIn. Be sure to tell your friends and your colleagues about this Warriors at Work conversation. Subscribe, review, and rate us. It's the best way to get this message out into the world. Be well.